this is Maryellen Boyce. I am registered dietitian with TRU PACE, and I am here to talk about fiber today. We are going to learn a bit about fiber and how it is your gut's very best friend. So I hope today that you can think about some of the questions that I ask and that you can consider how you can make some very minor or sometimes major modifications in your diet to help your gut and its microbiome. So to start out today, I want to ask you a question here. How many species of bacteria inhabit the normal healthy bowel? So what I'm asking here is about the number of species. So I first want to give you a little bit of a clue in on how many actual microbes there are in your body, in your bowel, in your microbiome, and it's more than 100 trillion actual microbes in your gut. So knowing that will help you to know that there are over 1,000 different species of bacteria that inhabit the normal healthy bowel. And of those 1,000 different species, there is only about 160 that are the same across all humans. And so the species of bacteria in the bowel really vary depending on each individual person and is a product of a lot of things, not just what we eat, but also the environment that we're in and our genetic makeup, our maybe culture and race, and those things also affect the type of and variety of species in our bowel. But also food makes a huge difference towards the number of species and what types of species are in our bowel. And having bacteria in our bowel may sound like a bad thing, but actually there's both good and bad bacteria, and what we're really aiming for is to have a healthy, normal balance between both of these and really focusing on foods that are going to be feeding those good bacteria in our bowel. So here is a picture of what has been a computer-generated picture of your intestines, of your gut here. And I want you to notice that your gut is not just like a slick tube from your mouth clear on through. It is a very dynamic and wide amount of surface area here. You can see these are called villi, and they're these little finger-like protrusions in your intestines. They move the food through, and they also are very good at absorbing a lot of different things because it increases really the surface area of your bowel by a lot by having all of these villi. And so you can see how there is a lot of space there for those microbes to live. And here in this picture, you can see that there are just some green fuzzy dots here that are representing that bacteria in your gut. But actually, it is a lot of different species, as we just talked about. There's a lot of different sizes and shapes and types and families of bacteria in your gut. And we really want to focus on the things that we can do to maintain a healthy gut. So here we're going to talk a little bit about what a healthy gut does for you. It avoids abdominal pain, bloating, acid reflux, constipation, diarrhea, and flatulence, as you would expect. But it also can protect you against bacterial infections and increase absorption of the nutrients in your body. It can improve your mood and health and reduce inflammation. There is a lot of studies out there that are trying to determine actually all the many different ways our health is influenced by our gut microbiome. And they have found that your gut is as unique to you as your DNA. That as you age, your gut microbiome actually changes, and they can predict a lot about your health based on the variety of species that you have in your gut. There is one published study that's a longitudinal study, and I don't want to get too scientific here, but they have found that the gut microbiome is associated, greater diversity is associated with people who can walk faster, have greater mobility, and that a less diverse microbiome is correlated with people who are more frail. And in this study, they found that those who had a less diverse microbiome were actually 2 times more likely to die early or die in the timeline of the study. So it's just really interesting, all of the different connections they're making with obesity, with diabetes, with cancer, with, as I indicated, depression and mental health. There's a lot of emerging research and studies. So stay tuned on all the different things that we can discover, but you really should know that it is really fascinating and really actually important to our overall health. And that we really need to do a lot to take care of our gut, because having an unhealthy or, a poor feeling gut is really not fun at all. Nobody likes that. But also looking at the bigger picture on how our gut can influence our health is really important as well. And there has even been studies to show that when you transplant some of someone's microbiome into your body, you begin to take on some of their characteristics. If they're older, into a younger person's body, that younger person begins to demonstrate more inflammation and more of those markers associated with age. If somebody is overweight and you transplant some of that microbiome into somebody who is lean, they begin to gain weight, and vice versa. So it's really fascinating, and I think we can't underscore how important it is to take care of our gut. So we're going to talk today about a little few things you can do. Healthy gut to-dos is what I will say to help your gut. The first one here is to increase the variety of healthy foods in your diet. So the 2 key words here are variety and healthy foods. So just think about adding more fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, and legumes, and whole grains. You want to have not just your 4 or 5 go-to fruits and vegetables, but you want to increase a wide range and have those fruits and vegetables perhaps, really lean into the ones that are seasonal and switching throughout the year. You want to give your body, nourish it with a lot of different foods, because doing so will be able to feed a lot of different good microbes in your gut. So really think about that throughout this presentation. Another thing that you can do is really focus on getting a recommended amount of fiber each day. For older Americans, for women, 21 grams is the recommendation, and for men, it's 30 grams of fiber a day. Fiber is really important to gut health because fiber really helps as it is being digested and broken down in your digestive system, is creating food for these your microbiota, your bacteria. So you want the fermentation that naturally happens with these fibers in your gut to really feed a variety of species. And the more fiber you provide your gut, the better it's going to be for a lot of different reasons. So let's talk about the different fiber types. You have insoluble fiber, and that adds bulk to your stool and prevents constipation. The foods that are insoluble are mostly like your grains, legumes, green vegetables, potatoes, peas, turnips, bananas, avocados, dried fruits, fruit skins, almonds, and flax seeds. Lots of times we think about insoluble fiber as kind of the roughage, that part of the fruit or vegetable or grain that does not get digested. It goes through the system and just adds that bulk to your stool. Additionally, there's soluble fiber, and this type of fiber slows digestion, lowering blood cholesterol. And if you want to think of this is kind of like oatmeal, right? When you cook oatmeal, you see that grain of oat swell as the water is taken in. And so these fibers really can swell in your gut, and that's how it slows digestion. So soluble fiber really helps you to feel fuller longer. For those of you that may be taking something like a Metamucil, that is, you can see if you leave Metamucil too long in that glass, it will thicken up. And that's what's happening in your stomach with these fibers, is it sort of slows digestion as it absorbs water as it passes through. And this is really helpful for your cholesterol, as well as that fiber can kind of surround some of those fats and help to prevent them from being digested in the first place. A lot of the foods that contain soluble fibers are also the ones that contain insoluble fibers. A lot of our foods, our plant foods, have both insoluble and soluble fiber components. For example, like an apple would have, maybe the peel of the apple would have more insoluble fiber, while the flesh of the apple might have more some soluble fiber. So you can see where there is different parts of the grain or the plant would offer different fiber types. And within insoluble and soluble fibers, there's lots of different kind of types of fibers as well. So that's why it's important to get a lot of variety of fruits and vegetables and grains, nuts and seeds, so that you're going to expose yourself to not only insoluble and soluble fiber, but all the different types of insoluble fiber and all the different types of soluble fiber. So variety, again, of these healthy foods is really key to gut health. Another thing that you can do to really increase your gut health is to consider probiotic and prebiotic foods. So we're going to talk a little bit about what actually is a probiotic. A probiotic is an actual live microorganism that provides health benefits when consumed, restoring generally or improving your gut flora. So some of the things that we can do to consume probiotics would be consume some fermentable foods, things like kefir, kombucha, miso. You can see some of those dairy products, yogurts and milk. You can take a probiotic supplement, which are live bacteria that you can take in a peel form that will be helpful to your body, as well as like sourdough, pickles, any kind of soy products that have been fermented. Those actually have good live organisms in them that directly add to the microbiotics in the microbiota, those bacteria in your gut. But prebiotics, on the other hand, are just foods that provide food for those bacteria. So prebiotic foods are just foods that are really good at supporting those bacteria and those microorganisms. So some of them on this slide show leek, banana, garlic, onion. Barley and oats are also good prebiotics, as well as legumes, all varieties of potatoes. And I also want to note that there are several beneficial bacteria that are listed up here on the top left corner. And as you're looking at those are good ones to kind of note if you are going to go to the store and look for a supplement, a probiotic to take every day. I have, in the research I've looked, seen that lactobacillus is really probably the most well-studied and recommended one, but all of those are going to be really, really good as well. So just to take some interest in and look, and you can see the intestinal microflora that it is showing that there is both good and bad bacteria, that we want to have that healthy balance in your gut is important. The last healthy gut to do that I want to talk today about is drinking adequate amounts of water. So water is necessary for the breakdown of foods and assists with the digestion of nutrients, right? If you eat a lot of fiber, but you're not drinking the water, that soluble fiber has no water to really absorb, and water is really necessary for healthy bowel and for softening the stool, right? Adequate water intake is really linked with increased biodiversity of the gut. The studies have shown that you really need water to help all of that, the fermentation process with all of those different fibers and prebiotics that you are giving your gut. So we're going to take a minute today and just go through a breakfast, lunch, and dinner scenario and talk about ways we could modify a meal to increase the variety and diversity of those prebiotic foods, especially focusing on increasing the fiber content in each meal. So there are 1,000,001 ways that you could do this. So think about your own life and what you are already doing and give yourself a pat on the back if that's already working and on spot. But just think about maybe a few things that you could do to modify your meals. So here you can see I put the grams of fiber in parentheses. Just some Cinnamon Toast Crunch with milk and apple juice, which is 3 grams of fiber at that meal. So if you need 20 or 30 grams a day, then you want to have somewhere between 7 and 10 grams per meal at least in order to meet that minimum fiber requirement for aging Americans. So here's something that I did to kind of increase that diversity. I added oatmeal, which is a really good soluble fiber, which 4 grams for a cup. I added some blueberries, and they're higher in fiber, and some sliced almonds, and I did put in a little bit of kefir here. If you've had that before, it's kind of like a fermented milk product, but it's not too bad. It's a little sour, but I enjoy that as well, and it's low in lactose. So if lactose is a thing for you, then kefir is a good product as well. So that brings the fiber content of the meal up to 8.8 grams. And you can see how just adding a few more things, not making it so different, but it can really make a big difference in your health. All right, let's talk about lunch. Here's a lunch, a peanut butter and honey sandwich on white bread with some potato chips and soda. Now, obviously you can see there's not the most healthy choices here, but the total amount of fiber is 5.9 grams. But really a peanut butter sandwich is not a bad idea. So when I was modifying this meal, I said, well, let's just make that peanut butter sandwich from whole wheat bread, right? And add that same peanut butter and honey. But instead of potato chips and soda, I did a veggie tray, a little 1 cup of fresh veggies with some hummus, right? This hummus is a chickpea product, and that adds some legumes, which are higher in fiber and also very diverse here with your different types of legumes. And then you get to have 13.7 grams of fiber, which is quite a bit. And that's probably even lower calories by quite a bit. I didn't figure out the calories here than having a potato chips and soda. So here we go with dinner. Dinner, I did a chicken taco, just a tortilla with some seasoned shredded chicken, some cheese, and iceberg lettuce with a little bit of sour cream. That together is only 1.2 grams of fiber, so very, very limited on the amount of fiber here. But taking the same sort of idea, and I'm thinking, how can I add a lot more to this meal without adding a lot more calories? What can I do to sort of increase the variety of healthy foods? So I chose 2 cups of spring lettuce mix because a spring lettuce mix gives me a lot of different varieties of lettuce, right? I don't just have spinach, but maybe arugula or other types of lettuce that would add to different types of fibers to the mix. Also, you could see that I left the shredded cheese and chicken in, but I added for my taco salad here a 1/2 cup of black beans, which is 8 grams of fiber, quite a bit, with a 1/2 cup of corn, 2 tablespoons of purple onion, which isn't a lot of fiber, but onions are really good prebiotic food. So it's good to add those in if you like that flavor because it can add more than just the fiber content. And then I added some tortilla chips because I like that texture change. It didn't add a lot of fiber, but I thought that was just a fun addition that adds that texture, some sour cream as well. And then this avocado here, 1/2 of a medium avocado is 5 grams of fiber, which is quite a bit. Surprising, even to me. I didn't realize how much fiber was in avocado, with 1/3 a cup of diced tomatoes. So altogether, I didn't even have room to put water on. I would have added some water here at the end, but this this taco salad was 19 grams of fiber. So almost your whole fiber content in one meal, which is quite a bit. I would recommend, if you're not eating a lot of fiber in your diet right now, to slowly add fiber in. Don't just add a lot in at once. That might be a little shocking to your gut, but your gut will thank you if you slowly add that fiber in and get to the point where you're having quite a bit a day, maybe even 40 grams or up to 50. One thing I want you to remember from this presentation is that you've got to nourish your gut for it to flourish. You've got to nourish to flourish. And I think it's really important when we eat, we should think about how this is nourishing our body, and not just, what kind of energy sources are we putting into our muscle cells or fat cells, but really what kind of good fibers and other ingredients are we adding to our gut that's really going to help our gut microbiota to flourish and help us to be happier and healthier for a longer life. And I'm adding here some references at the end of my presentation if you want to go and look at some of those studies or papers on some of the research that's been done on the gut microbiome as well. Thank you so much.